The Jefferson Grand Hotel shimmered like a diamond under the city lights. A fountain danced in the center of the marble lobby, and the scent of lavender filled the air. Guests in tailored suits walked by, dragging designer luggage across the polished floor. At 9:13 p.m., a woman entered, tired, dressed in jeans, sneakers, and a simple black hoodie. Her curly hair was tied up, and her eyes carried the exhaustion of a long day. Dr. Maya Jefferson. She stood quietly at the reception desk, smiling faintly. "Good evening," she said softly. "I have a reservation under Jefferson." Evelyn glanced up, her smile polite, but brief. Her eyes swept over Maya from head to toe, stopping at the worn sneakers. Reservation under what name, ma'am?" she asked, her tone cool. "Jefferson," Maya repeated. "Dr. Maya Jefferson." Evelyn typed it in, frowning slightly. "I'm sorry, ma'am, but I don't see a reservation here." "Are you sure you're at the right hotel?" Maya smiled again. "Pretty sure. I've stayed here before." Her voice carried warmth, a mix of patience and quiet confidence. Evelyn tilted her head. "We are fully booked tonight. There's a Holiday Inn about 10 minutes away. Maybe you could try there?" Before Maya could respond, a white couple approached the counter. Evelyn's entire demeanor changed. Her smile brightened, her tone lifted. "Welcome to the Jefferson Grand. Do you have a reservation?" she chirped. Maya stood aside, watching. The couple was quickly checked in and handed keys. When they left, she stepped closer again. "I really do have a reservation," she said calmly. "Maybe check under corporate or executive accounts." Evelyn sighed. "Ma'am, I already checked. We don't have anything for you. And unfortunately, we can't allow loitering in the lobby." Maya froze. "Loitering?" she repeated, her voice dropping. "Yes," Evelyn said, glancing toward the security guard nearby. "If you're not a guest, you'll have to leave." The air turned heavy. Maya stared at her, emotion flickering behind her composed face, disbelief, hurt, and something deeper. David, the bellboy, shifted uncomfortably nearby. He knew exactly who she was. He'd seen her photo in the employee handbook. But fear glued his tongue. Evelyn gestured toward the exit. "Please, ma'am. I don't want to make this awkward." Maya nodded slowly, eyes glistening, not from anger, but disappointment. "No need," she said quietly. "You've already made it that way." She turned and walked out into the cold night. The clock behind the counter ticked. 9 minutes later, she'd walk back in, and nothing in that hotel would ever be the same. The automatic glass doors slid open again. The same woman in the black hoodie stepped inside but this time her presence felt different. There was no trace of hesitation, no faint smile, no need to prove who she was. Behind her, 2 men in tailored suits followed, carrying briefcases. The security guard straightened instinctively. The air in the lobby seemed to shift, from casual luxury to silent tension. Evelyn, still behind the counter, frowned. "Excuse me, ma'am," she began, her tone once again sharp, dismissive. Maya raised a hand gently, stopping her mid-sentence. "Miss Carter, isn't it?" Maya's voice was calm, but it carried weight now, authority. Evelyn blinked, confused. "How do you—" "I remember every employee I hire," Maya said evenly. The color drained from Evelyn's face. I'm sorry, what did you say?" Thomas Reed, the hotel manager, emerged from his office, his usual confident smirk plastered on his face. "What seems to be the issue here?" he asked, eyeing Maya. Maya turned toward him slowly. "The issue," she said, "is that your staff just denied me a room in my own hotel." Thomas let out a short, dismissive laugh. "I'm sorry, your hotel?" "Yes," Maya replied, pulling out her phone. She tapped the screen, and a document appeared, the Jefferson Grand's ownership certificate. Her signature glowed at the bottom, Dr. Maya L. Jefferson. Thomas's smirk fell away. Evelyn's hands trembled. David, the bellboy, froze behind a pillar, eyes wide. "I came in tonight like any other guest," Maya continued. "Dressed comfortably. No entourage, no title. Just a black woman trying to check into her own building, and I was told to leave." No one spoke. The sound of the fountain filled the silence, mocking the discomfort around them. Maya's voice softened, but her words cut sharper than glass. Do you have any idea how many times I've been mistaken for less than I am? Told I don't belong in places I built, rooms I paid for, companies I created? Thomas opened his mouth, but she raised her hand again. Don't, she said firmly. I don't need excuses. I need accountability. She looked at Evelyn. You judged me in less than a minute. You decided, based on how I looked, that I wasn't worthy of a room in this hotel. You smiled for others, and suspicion for me. Evelyn's eyes welled up. Dr. Jefferson, I didn't mean— But you did, Maya interrupted gently. You just didn't realize it mattered. Her assistant, one of the men in suits, stepped forward. Dr. Jefferson, would you like to handle this privately? Maya shook her head. No, this needs to be seen. She turned to the small crowd of onlookers who had gathered, guests, staff, and the same white couple Evelyn had just checked in. I built this hotel to be a place of respect, a place where every person, no matter their color or background, feels seen. Tonight, I was reminded that prejudice doesn't disappear with glass ceilings or business titles. Thomas cleared his throat nervously. Dr. Jefferson, please. Let's talk in my office. Maya looked him dead in the eye. You have 9 minutes, Mr. Reed. 9 minutes to gather your things. You're dismissed. The color left his face. Evelyn gasped. Wait, Dr. Jefferson, please, I didn't— Maya met her gaze, firm yet sorrowful. And you, Ms. Carter, pack up. I'll have HR contact you in the morning. Evelyn's lip quivered. Please, I swear I didn't know. That's the problem, Maya said softly. You didn't care to know. Maya turned, motioning to David. You, she said kindly. What's your name? David, he whispered. You recognized me, didn't you? He hesitated, then nodded. Yes, ma'am. Why didn't you say something? I was scared, he admitted quietly. They fire people for speaking up. Maya smiled faintly. Not anymore, David, not in my house. She reached into her bag, pulled out a small gold pin, and handed it to him. Congratulations. You're the new front desk supervisor. The lobby fell silent, and as Maya looked around the space she once dreamed of, her voice steadied, calm, proud, unshaken. Let this moment remind you all, respect costs nothing, but its absence can cost you everything. She turned toward the elevator, her footsteps echoing in the marble hall. This time, no one stopped her. The next morning, sunlight poured through the massive glass windows of the Jefferson Grand. The air inside the lobby was thick, not with the scent of lavender this time, but with unease. Whispers drifted between staff members. The story had already spread like wildfire. The owner herself had been denied a room. Evelyn sat in the manager's office, her hands shaking. She hadn't slept. The humiliation from last night kept replaying, her own voice echoing in her head. If you're not a guest, you'll have to leave. Now she sat facing Dr. Maya Jefferson again. But the woman in front of her wasn't angry. Her calmness was worse. It forced Evelyn to face the weight of her own actions. Maya leaned back in her chair, her voice quiet but sharp. Do you know why you're here, Evelyn? Yes, ma'am, Evelyn whispered. I disrespected you. Maya folded her hands. You didn't just disrespect me. You disrespected what this place stands for. Tell me, why did you assume I wasn't a guest? Evelyn's lips trembled. I don't know. You looked tired, maybe. You weren't dressed like— She trailed off. Like who? Maya asked. Like someone who belongs here? Evelyn swallowed hard. I didn't mean it like that. But that's exactly what you meant, Maya interrupted softly. You didn't even realize it, but your eyes made a decision before your mind did. That's how prejudice works. Quiet, subtle, and deadly. Evelyn's eyes filled with tears. Dr. Jefferson, I swear I've never treated anyone differently because of race. Maya sighed. Every person who's ever hurt someone says that. No one ever thinks they're the problem. But do you remember that white couple who came right after me? Evelyn nodded, ashamed. You smiled before they even spoke, Maya said. You offered water, an upgrade, and a late checkout. And me? You offered directions to the nearest motel. That's not policy. That's bias. Evelyn lowered her head. I'm so sorry, Dr. Jefferson. Maya studied her for a long moment. Then she stood and walked toward the window, speaking more to the city skyline than to Evelyn. When I built this hotel, I wanted it to stand for something. Not just luxury and integrity, My mother used to clean hotel rooms. People would ignore her, walk past her like she didn't exist. She told me once, "Baby, if you ever run your own place, make sure nobody ever feels invisible." Her voice cracked slightly, then steadied again. Last night I realized I failed her because I hired people who made others feel exactly that way. Evelyn sobbed quietly. "Please, Dr. Jefferson, give me another chance. I'll do anything to make it right." Maya turned, her expression unreadable. "An apology isn't enough." "I need change." "I can change," Evelyn said quickly. "I'll take training, work under supervision, anything." Maya looked at her for a long moment. Then finally she nodded. "You'll undergo mandatory diversity and sensitivity training. Every employee here will. You'll work unpaid during that period. And if I see one more complaint, you'll never work in hospitality again." Evelyn nodded furiously, tears streaming down. "Thank you, Dr. Jefferson. I swear you'll never regret this." Maya's gaze softened slightly. "Evelyn, regret isn't what I fear. Repetition is." She turned toward the door. "You can go. But remember, forgiveness is not forgetfulness. You have to earn this chance." Evelyn stood shakily, wiping her tears. "Thank you," she whispered again before leaving the office. When the door closed, Maya sat down heavily. Her assistant Jordan stepped in. "Was that wise?" he asked. "After what she did?" Maya exhaled slowly. "Maybe not. But people don't grow if you only punish them. They grow when you make them face what they did, and then give them a mirror." Jordan nodded quietly. "You're too good sometimes." Maya gave a faint smile. "No, I just remember what it's like to be dismissed. And I never want to become what hurt me." As she looked around her office, her empire built from pain, persistence, and purpose, she whispered to herself, "Sometimes the best revenge isn't firing people. It's educating the ones who never saw you coming." By noon, the story had gone viral. Someone, probably a guest, had secretly recorded the moment Dr. Maya Jefferson revealed who she was. The clip spread across social media like wildfire. "Black woman denied a room at her own hotel. Watch what happens next." Within hours, millions had seen it. News anchors debated it. Hashtags like Jefferson Incident and Yes, This Is America began trending. Outside the Jefferson Grand, cameras and reporters gathered, hungry for sound bites and headlines. Inside, tension buzzed through every hallway. Employees whispered, guests stared, and everyone avoided Maya's eyes. In her office, Maya sat calmly behind her desk, scrolling through hundreds of messages, both supportive and hateful. Her assistant, Jordan, stood nearby. "CNN wants an interview," he said quietly. "So does Good Morning America. And the mayor's office just called. They want a statement." Maya looked up slowly. "A statement?" she asked. "I think the video already said enough." Jordan hesitated. "It did, but people want you to speak. Some think you embarrassed your staff on purpose." Maya chuckled softly. "Embarrassed them?" "No, the truth embarrassed them. I just didn't cover it up." She stood and walked to the window, watching the small crowd outside. News vans, reporters shouting questions, a few protesters holding signs. Some signs said, "End workplace racism," while others read, "Shame on Jefferson Grand." Jordan frowned. "It's crazy. Half the world's calling you a hero. The other half says you overreacted." Maya turned toward him. "That's what happens when a black woman stands her ground. They call it anger instead of leadership." Just then, the office phone rang. Jordan answered, then handed it to her. "It's the board." Maya nodded and took the call. "Yes?" A voice on the other end, sharp, nervous. "Dr. Jefferson, it's Samuel Klein. We've been flooded with calls. Investors are concerned. Some are suggesting we release a joint statement, something to smooth this over." "Smooth over what exactly?" Maya asked calmly. "The, incident," he said carefully. "You firing people on camera, it looks unprofessional. We need to show you're addressing it internally." Maya let the silence stretch. Then she said evenly, "Samuel, when racism happens, the problem isn't public exposure, it's public denial. I didn't create this mess. I revealed it." "Of course," he stammered. "But maybe issue something softer?" "An apology." Her tone hardened. "An apology to whom?" To the employees who humiliated their own boss because she was black? Or to the system that still lets them think that's acceptable? He hesitated. I understand your position, but no, you don't, she interrupted. You've never been told you don't belong in a place you built. You've never had to prove your worth in your own house. So don't tell me how to make my pain more palatable. She hung up gently. Jordan let out a low whistle. You just hung up on a board member. Maya smiled faintly. He'll live. At that moment, her phone buzzed again. A text message from an unknown number. It read, Dr. Jefferson, I was at the front desk last night. I saw everything. Thank you for standing up. My daughter's black, and seeing you do that, it meant something. Guest in room 412? Maya stared at the message for a moment, her eyes softening. Then she turned to Jordan. You see? That's why I won't apologize for the truth. For every person offended, there's someone who finally feels seen. Meanwhile, downstairs, Evelyn sat alone in the staff break room. Her phone buzzed non-stop with messages from friends and strangers. Some called her racist. Others defended her, saying she just made a mistake. But the worst part wasn't the internet. It was herself. She replayed that moment over and over. Maya's calm face, her steady voice. The humiliation in realizing she had judged the very woman who signed her paychecks. Tears welled in her eyes again. She whispered to herself, I didn't mean it. God, I didn't mean it. But outside, the world had already chosen its narrative. For Maya, this wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about revelation, and what she would do with the platform she never asked for. As she looked out the window again, she whispered under her breath, if the world wants to talk, let's make sure they're talking about change. And the next morning, she would make a move that would shock everyone. Not with anger, but with purpose. The next morning, the Jefferson Grand Hotel was unrecognizable. News vans lined the street. Reporters swarmed the entrance. The lobby buzzed with journalists holding microphones. Cameras flashing under the marble chandeliers. The world wanted answers, and Dr. Maya Jefferson was ready to give them. She stepped out of the elevator wearing a sharp white suit. No jewelry, no flair. Just elegance and quiet authority. Every head turned. Conversations fell silent. Jordan walked beside her, holding a folder. You sure about this? He murmured. You're walking into a storm. Maya smiled faintly. Then it's time they learned who controls the weather. As she approached the podium set up in the center of the lobby, the murmurs faded to a hush. Reporters leaned in, microphones raised, cameras clicked. The flash reflected in her calm brown eyes. She began, her voice clear, steady, and strong. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Maya Jefferson, owner and founder of the Jefferson Grand Hotel. A wave of murmurs rippled through the crowd. 2 nights ago, she continued, I was denied a room in this very building. Not because of a system error, not because of a lack of availability, but because someone decided I didn't look like I belonged here. The crowd went quiet again. I didn't come here today to shame anyone, Maya said, scanning the room. I came here to shed light on something far bigger than one hotel, one employee, or one incident. What happened to me happens to countless black men and women across America. People who are told, in subtle ways, that they are less than. That they don't belong, she paused, letting the silence stretch. The irony is, I built this place to fight that very idea. I built it so no one would ever feel invisible. But even inside my own walls, prejudice found a home. A reporter called out, Dr. Jefferson, will you be pressing charges or suing your staff? Maya shook her head. No, I don't want retribution. I want reform. She opened the folder in Jordan's hands and pulled out a few sheets of paper. Starting today, the Jefferson Hospitality Group will launch a national training program, mandatory for all employees, from front desk to executives. We'll be funding diversity, empathy, and inclusion workshops across every one of our hotels. And this time, it won't be just a checkbox exercise, Mom. It will be real education taught by people who live this experience. Another reporter shouted, What about the employees you fired? Maya's tone softened. They were dismissed for their actions, but not discarded as human beings. They've been offered counseling and an opportunity to reapply after completing training. I believe in accountability, but also in redemption." A murmur of surprise spread through the crowd. It wasn't what they expected. "Some of you came here today for a scandal," Maya continued. "But this isn't a story about a hotel owner and her staff. It's a story about all of us, about what we choose to see when we look at someone who doesn't fit our assumptions." She took a breath. "I've been followed in stores, ignored in boardrooms, and told even in success that I'm lucky to be here. But I am not here because of luck. I am here because of work, sacrifice, and a mother who scrubbed floors in places that wouldn't even hire her now. I am here because I refused to believe that someone else's doubt was my destiny." Cameras flashed faster now. Reporters scribbled. Even staff members, including Evelyn, stood near the back, listening through tears. Maya's voice grew softer, but it reached every corner of the room. "If you've ever been made to feel invisible, this is your reminder that you are seen. And if you've ever made someone feel that way, this is your chance to do better." A long pause, then applause, hesitant at first, then growing. Guests, staff, even some reporters clapped. Maya gave a small nod, stepped away from the podium, and turned toward Jordan. "Send a memo," she said quietly. "I want every manager on a video call tonight." "We're starting over," Jordan smiled. "You just changed the story, boss." Maya looked toward the crowd of flashing cameras, her voice low but resolute. "No," she said. "We just rewrote it." They'd been part of something bigger than they ever understood. Evelyn sat alone in the locker room, her uniform crumpled on her lap. She stared at her reflection in the small mirror above the sink, her eyes red, her face pale. She didn't look like the polished professional she once thought she was. She looked broken. The door creaked open. David, the young bellboy, stepped in. "Hey," he said softly. "You okay?" Evelyn shook her head. "No," she whispered. "I don't think I am." He hesitated before sitting beside her on the bench. "You saw the press conference?" "I watched it 3 times, she said bitterly. "She's incredible. The way she spoke, the way she turned it all into something powerful." David nodded. "Yeah, she didn't yell. She didn't humiliate anyone. She just told the truth. That's worse, isn't it?" Evelyn let out a shaky laugh. "You're right. It's worse because she was right." Silence filled the small room. The hum of the air conditioner was the only sound. After a moment, Evelyn whispered, "You know what hurts the most? I wasn't even trying to be cruel. I thought I was being professional, firm, polite, doing my job. But now I see it. Every tone, every look, every assumption. It wasn't just one bad moment. It was a mirror." David looked down. "We all saw it happen. None of us said anything." Evelyn turned toward him, eyes wet. "Why didn't you?" He sighed. "Because I was scared. Because that's what people like me do. Stay quiet to keep a paycheck. But after seeing her forgive us, I think silence can be just as bad as what you said." Evelyn's voice cracked. "Do you think she really forgave me?" "I think she wants to," David said gently. "But forgiveness isn't magic. You have to earn it." Evelyn stared at the floor, lost in thought. "I used to think racism was something other people did. The loud kind. The obvious kind. I never thought it could live in polite smiles and quiet assumptions." David nodded. "That's the kind that hurts the most." She stood slowly, her body trembling but her voice firm. "I'm going to talk to her. Not to beg for my job, just to tell her I understand. And to thank her for not giving up on me." David smiled faintly. "You should. She might actually listen." Evelyn grabbed her badge, stuffed it into her bag, and took a deep breath. As she walked through the lobby, the same marble floor that once made her feel powerful now made her feel small, humbled. Maya was sitting by the window, sipping tea, her assistant beside her reviewing emails. Evelyn approached carefully, her voice soft. "Dr. Jefferson?" Maya looked up, calm, composed. "Yes? I just wanted to say, I understand now. What you meant about how quick we are to judge. You didn't just fire me. You opened my eyes. I can't undo what I did, but I can promise I'll never see people the same way again." Maya studied her for a long moment, saying nothing. Then finally she nodded. "Good, because that's how real change starts. Not in apologies, but in awareness." Evelyn swallowed hard. Thank you for not destroying me when you could have. Maya's voice softened. I wasn't trying to destroy you, Evelyn. I was trying to rebuild this place. But that starts with rebuilding you. Tears rolled down Evelyn's cheeks. She whispered, I'll earn that. Maya nodded once more. Then start today. Evelyn turned to leave, but before walking away, she paused and said quietly, Dr. Jefferson, I used to think power came from position, but now I see it comes from grace. And you've got more of that than anyone I've ever met. Maya didn't reply. She just smiled faintly, her eyes glistening. As Evelyn left the lobby, Maya's assistant turned to her. You think she'll really change? Maya looked out the window. If she doesn't, the world will. One way or another. Outside, a small group of guests applauded Maya as she walked by, not because of the scandal, but because of the strength she showed in how she handled it. And for the first time in a long time, Maya felt peace, not victory, but peace. The kind that comes when you turn pain into purpose. 3 days after the press conference, the world still couldn't stop talking about her. Clips of Dr. Maya Jefferson's speech flooded every platform: TikTok, Instagram, newsreels, late-night talk shows. But this morning, she was about to face her biggest audience yet. A producer from Good Morning America had called. They wanted a live, unedited interview. Maya agreed, not for publicity, but because she knew this moment could reshape the conversation around race, professionalism, and perception in America. In her suite, Jordan helped adjust her microphone as the crew set up lights. You ready for this? He asked, handing her a cup of coffee. Maya smiled faintly. I was born ready. I just didn't know it would look like this. He grinned. Just remember, they're not interviewing a victim. They're interviewing the woman who changed the narrative. She nodded, her expression steady. Exactly. Moments later, the host, Alicia Brown, walked in, warm, charismatic, and visibly nervous. Dr. Jefferson, thank you for doing this, Alicia said, shaking her hand. Everyone's been waiting to hear from you directly. Maya smiled politely. Then let's give them honesty, not headlines. The red light blinked. The cameras rolled. The world watched. Alicia. Dr. Jefferson, let's start with the question everyone's asking. What went through your mind when you were denied a room at your own hotel? Maya, disbelief first. Then sadness. Not because of what they said, but because of how normal it felt. You see, when you're a black woman in America, being underestimated isn't shocking anymore. It's expected. That's the real tragedy. Alicia, you've been praised for your grace, the way you handled it without anger. How did you stay so calm? Maya, anger is easy. But I didn't want another viral clip of a black woman losing control. I wanted to show what power looks like when it's quiet, when it's dignified. My calm wasn't weakness. It was discipline. Alicia. There are people online who say you overreacted, that you embarrassed your staff. Maya took a breath, her gaze steady. Embarrassment is what happens when truth meets denial. I didn't embarrass anyone. I exposed a pattern. My goal wasn't to destroy their careers. It was to destroy the mindset that caused it. The audience in the studio grew quiet. The interviewer blinked, caught off guard by the depth in Maya's tone. Alicia, you've since launched a national initiative. Tell us about that. Maya. Yes, we're creating something called the Open Door Project. It's a partnership between hotels, airlines, and universities, teaching staff how to recognize implicit bias. Because it's not just about racism, it's about recognition. If people can't see past stereotypes, they'll never see humanity. The camera zoomed in slightly as she continued. Maya, I want to live in a country where my mother, or someone like her, could walk into a hotel lobby and be treated like royalty, even if she's holding a mop, because dignity isn't earned. It's owed. There was a pause. Alicia swallowed hard, visibly emotional. Alicia. Dr. Jefferson, that's beautiful. What do you say to people who still don't get it? Maya leaned forward slightly, her tone calm but piercing. I tell them this. Prejudice doesn't always wear a hood or shout slurs. Sometimes it smiles at you, calls you ma'am, and still assumes you don't belong. If you want to change the world, start by checking your assumptions, not just your opinions. The audience erupted into applause. Some stood. Even Alicia blinked back tears. Alicia, you've inspired millions, Dr. Jefferson. What's next for you? Maya smiled gently. What's next? Rest, reflection, and rebuilding. Not just for my hotel, but for everyone who's ever been told they were in the wrong place. As the cameras faded to black, the studio went silent, the kind of silence that only comes after truth. Back in her car, Jordan turned to her. You realize that interview's gonna break the internet, right? Maya chuckled softly. Good. Then maybe the internet will finally break something else. The cycle. She gazed out the window as the city passed by. Billboards, taxis, crowds, all of it humming with noise and motion. But in that moment, Maya felt a stillness inside her. She had walked into humiliation and walked out with history, and the world, whether it was ready or not, was listening. The next morning, Maya woke up to the sound of her phone vibrating relentlessly on the nightstand. Dozens of missed calls, hundreds of messages. Jordan's text was pinned at the top. Stay off Twitter. Things are getting ugly. She rubbed her temples and opened the app anyway. Her interview had gone viral. 12 million views overnight. But so had the backlash. Some praised her as a modern-day Rosa Parks of corporate America. Others called her a race baiter, a drama queen, an opportunist milking victimhood. Comment sections turned vicious. Strangers dissecting her tone, her words, her very existence. And then there were the threats. Emails filled with hatred. Messages that read, "You ruined those people's lives. Go back to where you came from. We'll make sure your next hotel burns before you open it." Maya's hands trembled slightly, but her face remained still, the calm before a familiar storm. A knock came at the door. Jordan entered, his face tight with worry. "I told you not to look," he said softly. "I had to," Maya replied. "You can't fix what you refuse to face." He sat down across from her, pulling out his phone. The police called. "They're increasing security around the hotel. Someone leaked your home address online." Maya closed her eyes briefly, inhaling deeply. "Of course they did. Do you want me to cancel your next speech in Chicago?" Jordan asked. She shook her head. "No, if I back down now, they win." Jordan frowned. "Maya, this isn't about winning anymore. It's about staying alive." She looked at him with quiet determination. "Jordan, I've been surviving my whole life. This isn't new. What's new is that they're finally paying attention." Silence filled the room. Then she spoke again, softer now. "When my mother marched for fair wages in the 80s, they called her names too. Said she was making trouble. But she told me something I never forgot. Baby, if your truth makes them mad, it means they needed to hear it." Jordan exhaled, rubbing his forehead. "You always have a quote ready." Maya smiled faintly. "That's because history keeps repeating itself." Later that afternoon, Maya walked into the hotel lobby. The same space where everything had started. Guests turned their heads. Some smiled, others whispered. A few applauded quietly. Evelyn stood near the desk, eyes downcast. She looked fragile, thinner, quieter, changed. As Maya passed, Evelyn spoke softly. "Dr. Jefferson, I saw the interview." Maya stopped. "And?" Evelyn swallowed hard. "And you were right. I read every comment, every word. I deserve every bit of it. But I also read what people said about you. The hate, the threats. It's not fair." Maya studied her. "Fairness isn't guaranteed, Evelyn." "Growth is." Evelyn's voice cracked. "How do you stay so strong?" Maya smiled sadly. "I stopped trying to be strong. I just started being real." Evelyn nodded, tears brimming. "I'm sorry again. Not just for that night, for everything I never understood." Maya placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. "Then make it mean something." That evening, Maya sat in her office, lights dimmed, the city's glow washing through the window. Her laptop chimed to another email. Subject, "You're not safe. No message body." Just that line. For a brief moment, fear crept into her chest. But then her phone buzzed again. A message from an unknown number. "Dr. Jefferson, I'm a front desk manager at a hotel in Atlanta. After watching your interview, I changed how I train my team. You've made me better. Thank you. Maya closed her eyes. The fear loosened. For every threat, there was a ripple of hope. She whispered to herself, "They can hate me, but they can't unhear me." Jordan stepped in quietly. "You okay?" Maya turned from the window. "No, but I'm steady." He hesitated, then asked, "Do you ever regret it?" Speaking up? She looked at him for a long moment. "Every day," she said softly. "And then I remember." Silence was killing me long before this ever could. Outside, thunder rumbled in the distance. Rain streaked down the tall glass windows, catching the glow of the hotel lights. And somewhere inside that storm, Maya Jefferson sat, not as a victim, not as a hero, but as a woman who refused to be silent, no matter the cost. The storm came just after midnight. The kind that shakes the city awake. Wind howling, windows trembling, rain pelting the glass like bullets. Maya sat alone in her penthouse suite, the same one she had once been denied. On her desk, scattered papers, letters from supporters, hate mail, and the latest blueprints for her next hotel project. Outside, thunder rolled, deep, heavy, almost like a warning. She leaned back, staring out at the lightning flashing across the skyline. Every flash reminded her of that night, of Evelyn's eyes, the embarrassment, the cold sting of being told you don't belong. Only this time she wasn't trembling. Her phone buzzed again. Another message. Unknown. "You should have stayed quiet. Watch your back." She stared at the screen, then turned the phone face down. A knock echoed through the room. 3 slow, deliberate taps. She froze. "Who is it?" "It's me," Jordan's voice came from the other side. She exhaled and opened the door. Jordan stood there, soaked from the rain, his face tight. "Power's out in half the city." "You shouldn't be alone tonight," he said, stepping in and locking the door behind him. Maya nodded, relieved but pretending not to be. "I'm fine." "Yeah, that's what you always say," he muttered, placing a small pistol on the counter. "Licensed, of course." "Just in case," she frowned. "You think they'll actually come for me?" He met her eyes. "I think hate doesn't always stop at words." Silence hung between them. Then the lights flickered, once, twice, and went completely dark. The only light came from the storm outside, flickering through the window like a broken projector. "Generator should kick in soon," Maya whispered. Though her voice sounded uncertain, Jordan moved closer to the window, peering down. "Security's still at the front gate. We're good." But then a loud bang echoed from somewhere below. Maya jumped. "What was that?" Jordan's expression hardened. "Probably debris. I'll check the feed." He turned on his phone, opening the live security camera app. Static. Every feed was black. "Someone cut the power in the system," he muttered under his breath. Maya's pulse quickened. "Jordan," he moved quickly, lowering the blinds. "Stay away from the windows." Another sound. Footsteps in the hallway outside the suite. Slow, heavy. Then a voice, muffled, male. "Dr. Jefferson?" Jordan motioned for her to stay silent. He walked to the door, listening. The footsteps stopped. For a long minute, there was nothing but the rain and the sound of their own breathing. Then, faintly, the elevator dinged at the end of the hall. Whoever it was, they were gone. Maya's chest rose and fell rapidly. "This is getting out of control," Jordan nodded, still staring at the door. "They're trying to scare you. Don't let them." She sank into the couch, her voice breaking slightly. "They already have." He turned, kneeling in front of her. "Maya, look at me. You built an empire. You faced racism, humiliation, death threats, and you're still here. You don't get to let fear win now." Tears welled in her eyes. "I'm not afraid of dying, Jordan. I'm afraid of dying for nothing." He held her gaze, his voice steady. "Then make sure it means something." Thunder cracked outside, shaking the building. The power suddenly flickered back on. The room flooded with light, revealing Maya's reflection in the window. She looked older, stronger, unbreakable. And yet, in her eyes there was something new, not just courage, but exhaustion, the kind that comes when you've been strong for too long. Jordan glanced at his phone. "Security says they found footprints near the loading dock. Probably someone trying to get attention." Maya exhaled. Attention is easy to get. Integrity isn't. He gave her a small smile. That's your line for the next interview. But she didn't smile back. She just turned toward the window again, watching the rain, because deep down Maya knew this wasn't over. The storm outside had passed, but the one within her was just beginning. The morning after the storm, the world seemed eerily quiet. Rainwater dripped from the hotel's awnings, glistening on the marble driveway like shattered glass. Inside, the smell of coffee and fresh linen filled the air, the calm after chaos. Maya sat by the window, wrapped in a silk robe, scrolling through the morning news on her tablet. Every major outlet was still running her story. Dr. Jefferson, the hotel owner who exposed racism in her own empire. One headline read. Another. Hero or hypocrite? The debate around Maya Jefferson continues. She sighed. They always need a villain, she murmured to herself. Jordan entered, holding 2 cups of coffee. Or a headline, whichever sells faster. She smiled faintly, taking the cup. You sound like you've been reading the comments again. I have. Half the country wants to make you a senator. The other half wants to erase your name. Maya took a slow sip. Both are unrealistic. I'm not trying to lead anyone. I'm just trying to be seen. Before Jordan could reply, her phone buzzed. A call from a number labeled private line. Maya frowned. Who calls private anymore? Spam? Jordan guessed. But something told her to answer. She swiped the screen. This is Dr. Jefferson. A deep male voice responded. Dr. Jefferson, this is Attorney General Robert Keller. I apologize for the sudden call, but we need to talk. It's urgent. Maya straightened in her chair. Attorney General? Of course. What's this about? We've been reviewing the footage and the public reports from your hotel. Several employees you dismissed have filed wrongful termination suits. But that's not why I'm calling. Jordan looked up sharply, trying to read her expression. Keller continued. In our review, we found something disturbing. Your hotel's security footage from that night, the night you were denied entry, was partially deleted before your press team arrived. Someone inside tried to cover it up. Maya's heart dropped. Deleted? Who? We're still investigating, but the logs show a staff login from your head of operations, Mr. Daniel Crane. Jordan's eyes widened. Crane? He was the one who claimed to support you after the incident. Yes, Keller said. And there's more. We believe he was in communication with a local extremist group that's been targeting high-profile black business owners. You may have been deliberately set up. The room fell silent. Even the hum of the AC seemed to pause. Maya gripped the phone tightly. You're saying the incident, that night, wasn't just bias. It was planned. That's what the evidence suggests. We'll need your full cooperation as we proceed. And Dr. Jefferson, you might want to consider additional protection. The line clicked off. For a long moment, Maya just sat there, the phone still pressed to her ear. Jordan broke the silence first. This changes everything. Her voice came out hollow. No, Jordan. It explains everything. She stood up, pacing slowly. That's why the cameras were conveniently off when I walked in. That's why Evelyn seemed confused, like she'd been set up too. Jordan nodded. They wanted to humiliate you publicly. Make you a symbol of anger, not integrity. Maya clenched her fists, her voice trembling between fury and heartbreak. And it worked, until I turned it back on them. Hours later, she sat in her office, staring at the hotel's massive lobby through the glass wall. Guests laughed, staff bustled. Everything looked normal. But she knew better now. The ugliness she'd fought wasn't just ignorance. It was engineered. Jordan entered quietly. FBI's setting up a meeting for tomorrow. They want you to testify. Maya didn't look up. Then I'll testify. He hesitated. You sure you're ready? She finally turned, eyes burning with resolve. Jordan, I'm not just ready. I'm done hiding. They wanted to destroy my reputation. Instead, they gave me a purpose. He nodded slowly, watching the fire return to her. Then, let's make them regret underestimating you. Maya smiled faintly. They already do. That night, as the city lights blinked below her penthouse, Maya drafted a public statement. It was short, powerful, final. You can erase footage. You can spread lies, but you can't erase truth. I will not be silenced, not by racism, not by fear, and not by those who profit from both. She hit send, and within minutes, the world lit up again. But this time, Maya wasn't the one reacting. She was leading. The next day, the city felt tense. Paparazzi vans lined the street outside Jefferson Grand Hotel. Every news channel carried breaking updates. FBI investigates alleged sabotage in racism case. Dr. Jefferson targeted by extremist network, insider suspected. Inside her office, Maya stood at the window, her reflection split by the sunlight and the glass. She wasn't sure which part of her felt more real, the woman the world admired or the one trembling inside. Jordan walked in, a folder in his hand. They confirmed it, he said quietly. Crane's been talking to one of the group's members for months. There are email trails, encrypted messages, the whole thing. Maya turned slowly. So it's true. He nodded. He's been suspended, and federal agents are bringing him in for questioning right now. Her lips tightened. Bring him here first. Jordan hesitated. Maya, I want to look him in the eye. An hour later, Daniel Crane stood in front of her, pale, hands trembling slightly, his usual arrogance gone. 2 security guards flanked him near the door. Maya, he began, voice low. Don't, she interrupted coldly. Don't say my name like you know me. He swallowed hard. I was trying to protect the company, the footage, the incident. It was bad optics. You walking in like that, after traveling, no staff escort, the confusion. Maya's eyes flashed. Confusion? Daniel, I was denied entry into my own property because I was black. You tried to delete the proof of that. That's not confusion, that's complicity. He tried to steady his voice. It wasn't about race, it was about control. The board was panicking. The board? She cut in, stepping closer. You mean the same board that wouldn't even exist if I hadn't built this place from scratch? He looked down. You were making it political. I thought if we contained it, it'd go away. Maya's voice dropped to a low, shaking whisper. Do you have any idea what it feels like to be publicly humiliated, Daniel? To stand in your own hotel and be told you don't belong, and then to learn that the man I trusted most helped it happen? He flinched. I never meant, you meant to protect your reputation, she snapped. Not the truth. The room went still. Jordan watched quietly, his jaw tight. Maya took a slow breath, her voice steady but raw. You didn't just betray me, Daniel. You betrayed every person who's ever been told they're too loud, too proud, too black to belong in the room they built. Tears welled in Daniel's eyes. I lost myself in the politics. I thought I was doing the right thing. She studied him for a long, painful moment, then said softly but firmly, No, you did the comfortable thing. She turned to Jordan. Call security, escort him out, permanently. Daniel's voice cracked as he pleaded, Maya, please, I've been with you since the first hotel. Then you should have known who I am. She turned her back to him as security led him away. When the door closed, silence settled like heavy fog. Jordan approached her slowly. You okay? Maya laughed weakly. No, but I needed that. He nodded. You always said racism hides behind polished smiles and boardroom suits. I guess you were right. Maya looked out the window again. This time, not with sadness, but clarity. I used to think racism was just ignorance, she said quietly. Now I see it's strategy. It's people like Daniel, people who'd rather erase truth than confront it. Jordan stepped beside her. So what now? She turned to him, her eyes fierce again. Now I burn it all down. The board, the structure, the silent loyalty that protects people like him. We rebuild the company from the ground up. He smiled faintly. Revolution through real estate. She smirked. Revolution through ownership. That night, as the city skyline glowed beneath her window, Maya drafted a letter to the public. They tried to silence me from the inside, but justice doesn't live in boardrooms. It lives in truth, and I will not stop until every barrier, inside and outside, falls. When she hit send, she felt something she hadn't in weeks. Peace. Not because she'd won, but because she'd stopped apologizing for fighting. The world had tried to break her story. Instead, it had revealed her purpose. 2 months later, the Jefferson Grand Hotel stood brighter than ever. The lobby, once a silent witness to humiliation, now buzzed with new life, laughter, music, a warmth that reached every corner. New staff lined the front desk, diverse, confident, kind. Maya made sure of that. The old staff who stayed had undergone retraining through her new initiative, the Open Door Project, now adopted by hotels across the country. What began as one woman's stand had turned into a national movement. Mandatory anti-bias training, diversity audits, and fair pay standards. Still, victory hadn't come without scars. The lawsuits, the hate mail, the security threats, they hadn't stopped. But Maya had changed. She no longer feared being the story. She owned it. That morning, she stood before a crowd of reporters in the same lobby where it had all begun. Camera flashes blinked like lightning. Jordan stood beside her, smiling proudly as she took the podium. 2 months ago, she began, her voice calm but carrying, I was denied a room in this very hotel. That moment was supposed to break me. Instead, it broke something much bigger. Silence. She paused as the room quieted. For too long, we've treated racism as a public relations problem. A stain to clean up, not a system to dismantle. But racism isn't a glitch in the system. It is the system. And today we begin rewriting it. Applause echoed through the marble hall. She continued. This hotel, once the scene of shame, will now serve as headquarters for the Open Door Foundation. We will train, educate, and elevate. Because the goal isn't revenge, it's restoration. A young reporter raised her hand. Dr. Jefferson, after everything you went through, do you forgive them? Maya smiled softly. Forgiveness isn't the same as forgetting. I can forgive the people, but I will never forgive the pattern. The only way forward is accountability. Another reporter called out, What would you say to young black women watching you right now? Maya turned toward the cameras, her eyes glistening. I'd tell them, you don't have to shrink to be accepted. You don't have to code switch to survive. You don't have to smile through disrespect to stay professional. Your presence is not a privilege someone else gives you. It's your birthright. Walk into every room like you built it, because one day you just might. The crowd erupted in applause. Some reporters even stood. Jordan clapped the loudest, a proud grin breaking across his face. Later that evening, when the cameras were gone and the hall quieted again, Maya walked to the front desk, the very spot where it all began. The new front desk clerk, a young Latina woman named Sophia, looked up nervously. Dr. Jefferson! I didn't expect you here so late. Maya smiled. Just checking in? Sophia blinked. Checking in. Yes, Maya said softly, leaning on the counter. Because once upon a time they said I couldn't. Sophia smiled shyly. You can have any room you want, ma'am. Maya chuckled. I already do. She took the elevator to the top floor, stepped into the penthouse, and looked around. Everything was pristine. Flowers, candles, soft jazz playing from the speaker. But what struck her most wasn't the luxury. It was the peace. She sat by the window, the same one she'd watched storms through, and whispered to herself, This is what reclaiming looks like. Jordan joined her, 2 glasses of wine in hand. You did it, Maya. She smiled. No, we did. And we're not done. He raised his glass. To the fight. She raised hers. To the rebuild. They clinked glasses as the city lights shimmered below, alive with movement and possibility. They said she didn't belong. They said she was too loud, too proud, too different. But she proved that dignity isn't granted, it's reclaimed. Dr. Maya Jefferson didn't just win back her hotel. She redefined what it means to walk through any door, unafraid, unapologetic, and unbroken. Based on true stories of Black women across America who faced discrimination in spaces they helped build. The fight for equality continues. 5 years later. The Jefferson Grand wasn't just a hotel anymore. It had become a symbol. A living monument to resilience, justice, and change. Every year, people from across the country came not just to stay, but to learn. On the walls hung portraits of pioneers, women and men who had faced prejudice and turned it into purpose. And in the center of the grand lobby, a plaque gleamed beneath soft light. This place once denied entry to its own owner. Now its doors never close. To anyone. Dr. Maya Jefferson, founder of the Open Door Foundation, a young woman, Imani Brooks, walked through those doors with a notebook clutched in her hands. 24 years old, freshly graduated, nervous but determined. She had come from a small town in Alabama to intern for the foundation. At the reception desk, Sophia, now the hotel's manager, smiled warmly. "Welcome to Jefferson Grand. You're right on time." Imani smiled back, glancing around. "I've read so much about this place. It's surreal to be here." Sophia handed her an access badge. "You'll be working directly under Dr. Jefferson for a few weeks." Imani froze. "Wait, the Dr. Jefferson?" Sophia chuckled. "Yes, ma'am. She's in her office upstairs. Don't be nervous. She's tougher than she looks, but she'll change the way you see the world." When Imani stepped into Maya Jefferson's office, she found her standing by the window, older now, streaks of silver in her braids, eyes still sharp but softer with time. The skyline shimmered behind her, reflecting years of battles fought and won. "Ms. Brooks," Maya said, turning with a warm smile. "Welcome to the movement." Imani tried to speak but stumbled over her words. "Dr. Jefferson, I just want to say your story, and it changed my life. My mom used to watch your interview every year. She said it made her walk taller." Maya smiled gently. "That's why we tell our stories, Imani, so someone else can walk through the doors we opened." She motioned for her to sit. "So tell me, why do you want to be here?" Imani hesitated, then said quietly, "Because I've seen what happens when people stay silent. I want to learn how to speak truth the way you did, without losing my job, my dignity, or my hope." Maya nodded slowly. "Then you already have what it takes. Courage isn't about shouting louder. It's about standing still when they expect you to bow." Imani's eyes glistened. "How did you keep going, Dr. Jefferson?" "After everything, the threats, the hate," Maya looked out the window, the city glowing gold beneath the setting sun. "I didn't keep going because of the hate," she said softly. "I kept going because of the hope. The hate just taught me how important the hope was." Later that day, Maya gave a speech to a new generation of employees and volunteers in the hotel's auditorium. Her voice carried the calm authority of someone who had lived every word she spoke. "Years ago, I was told I didn't belong here. Today, I'm telling you, this place belongs to all of us." The Open Door Foundation now partners with over 1,000 businesses worldwide. We've trained tens of thousands in empathy, equity, and accountability. But most importantly, we've proven that change doesn't start in governments. It starts in the moments when you refuse to let injustice go unspoken. The audience rose to their feet in applause. Imani clapped through tears, watching her hero stand on the same stage where once humiliation had been born. After the event, Maya returned to her office where Jordan, now her husband, waited by the desk, holding 2 cups of tea. He smiled. "Still making history, huh?" She grinned. "At my age, I'm just making ripples." He handed her the cup. "Ripples turn into waves, Dr. Jefferson." She looked around. The photos, the awards, the thank you letters from people she'd never met. Her voice softened. It was never about fame. It was about opening doors that stay open long after I'm gone. Jordan reached for her hand, and you did that. That night, as the city lights danced outside her window, Maya whispered a prayer, not of thanks, but of promise. To every woman who's told she doesn't belong, keep walking. Keep speaking. One day they'll name the doors after you. The screen fades to black. Soft piano music plays. In the years following her stand, the Open Door Foundation trained over 250,000 employees across 47 states. Maya Jefferson's story inspired nationwide policy reforms in workplace equity and hospitality. Her legacy lives on, in every room where someone once felt unseen,